Hello and welcome back to The Good News. I'm TJ.
And I'm Doc.
And we are excited and delighted that you have joined us for another episode of The Good News. See, you weren't ready for that. You didn't know I was going old school with the Good News introduction.
When you say excited and delighted, I just get a pep in my step and a pop in my hop.
All right, all of that.
Yeah.
Well, I am excited because you just gave us an awesome word from the Lord today.
Thank you. You know, it was interesting because you said something at the end of the service that I think a lot. When you said, every time you ask me what I'm doing, I said I'm working on my sermon. And I said, you know, I will hope most pastors or preachers who preach spend hours on a sermon. You know, it just, how can you prepare a message and not spend a lot of time on it? And I know that it just seemed like it don't take all thing to do is just get up and start talking about how good Jesus is and what the Lord has brought you from and all that, which is true. But the preparation, a lot of times, is for me.
Yeah.
Y'all probably get a percent of what I prepare for and what I prepare.
And you know, and I struggle with that when I'm preparing a sermon. I go back and forth between how much do I want written so that I don't get stuck in what I have written, that I want the Spirit to be able to say exactly what the Spirit needs to say during the message. And so it is a fine line for me. I need to go back to that class in seminary. What was that?
Preparation of sermon.
Hermeneutics or something. Yeah, I need to go back because it's a struggle for me.
And I think with me, I've gone through so many stages over the years of preparation and how to write the message and deliver the message and what all to write. And I said, well, I do a lot of preparation, and what they get on Sunday morning is what they're supposed to get. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of information before me, but I come off script quick.
Yeah.
You know, it's like script is where I start, and I go back to it, but it's like I have outline, I have the main script, and I just go forward. And I said, what they don't get to what's not taught would get caught. So I just give it to them.
Yeah. And you know, and that's one of the more powerful things. There were a lot of powerful things I learned in seminary, but that was one of the more powerful ones. That preaching is an event. It happens when you come, the people come, there's preparation, and then the Holy Spirit shows up, and then something happens.
It's like, and I'm gonna tell you a perfect analogy from my perspective. Being in an HBCU band, we would practice like 6-7 hours a day like it was a job, which it really was for us.
Yeah.
For a 15-minute halftime show.
Yeah.
And if the other band came, you had to split that 15 minutes in half. Was that 7.5 minutes?
Yeah.
So, you know, we put a lot of time into it. And, you know, what we practice a lot of time by Friday, okay, we're going to take that routine out, and we ain't going to have no time for this, and we start cutting, and you have a lot of stuff on the cutting floor, like they say in Hollywood, you know. And same with my sermon. I prepared, and next thing I know, soon as I sit down, oh man, I didn't say this. I'm supposed to say that, and I didn't say that. You got left on the cutting floor.
Yeah. Well, thank God for the good news. So all of that good news that God poured into you all week, we can get to share it with the people so everyone can have it.
You know this reminds me of?
What's that?
You know how I love watching Real Housewives of Atlanta, and then they have the after show or something like that. That's what this is for me. You know, after we have our worship service, this is the after show when they bring them out on stage and everything and talk to them.
Well, it has been awesome because you have been on a series on discipleship.
Yeah.
And so your text today came from Matthew, the fourth chapter, 18 through 22. And it talks about Jesus pulling in fishermen to teach them to be fishers of men.
Yeah.
And I just love that analogy. And how Jesus, I love all of his parables, but just the way that he speaks in a way that he can make the divine simple just for us.
And you know, I thought one of the things that was interesting too, this whole fishes of men concept. Andrew caught one fish. That was Peter. And Peter caught thousands.
Yep.
So, you know, as disciples, we might catch one, and that person might go on and be a pastor or a leader or something in the church that might draw thousands. You know, so we don't have to be disappointed that I don't have a lot of disciples that I've made. If you make one, that disciple might be the one to make the others. And it's like a tree.
Yeah.
You know, you plant a seed and that tree grew up, and all those other branches belong to you because you planted that tree. So
I can't help but remember a story you told me about a classmate at in college that ran women to the Lord.
Yeah.
And some of us learned about the Lord because of situations that we had gotten into that we didn't know how to get out of, but God. And so I think you can fish and you can throw them back and let the Lord catch him.
And you know, that was good because I won't call his name, but every time I think about it, he was so sincere. He said, you know, I've sent a lot of women to the Lord.
Yeah.
You know, and even though he break their hearts and everything, but he was a minister. You know, he might not have been a minister of the gospel the way we are, or the way we know it, but a lot of us get to the Lord through hard times.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. And
Amen.
I thought it was interesting, the whole process of how Jesus used fishing as he called fishermen to be his disciples.
And that's one of the things you told us, that Jesus went where the people were.
Yeah.
He didn't stop going to weddings. He didn't stop being around people and going where people were. He just didn't let them change him. When he went, he did the changing.
Yeah.
And so you talked about bait and some of the things that you remember from your youth gospel caravans. When I tell you, I hadn't even heard that phrase in, I know, 30 years.
Gospel
but
caravan.
we don't need bait. All we need to be is available.
Yeah.
And Jesus will do the rest.
You know, and I think it was like how they did Peter when they were getting ready to crucify Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, I know you want to, you look just like him, you talk just like him. And I love when I hear people say, I can tell you're a Christian, I can tell you're a preacher. Is that, or say a plumber came out, say, what's the plumber? What else?
Yeah.
Plumber, a plumber repair guy came out the other day. And soon as we started talking, he said, you're a preacher. I said, why would you say that? He said, I could tell the way you sound. And I said, how does a preacher sound? You know, I feel like I'm from Atlanta. I have a southern urban dialect. I didn't think I sound like a preacher.
And urban. Goodness gracious.
So I don't know what preachers supposed to sound like. I wonder, do I sing talk?
You project from your diaphragm.
I thought it came from being in the Morris Brown College Marching Wolverine Band, learn how to breathe.
And how many preachers do you know that came out of your band?
Well, when I tell you that, so many people that say, but say I'm gonna shout out. So you know we do shout out sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm finna shout out Stephanie Houston, and I won't even say what we was calling college. But Stephanie Houston, she played flute in Morris Brown College Marching Wolverine, and she posted on my Facebook page. She said, "I am so proud of you, Dare." She said, "I had no idea you would be a pastor, and you were so nice in college." And I responded back to her, you know, she was really nice also. But a lot of us didn't know in college. Well, some probably did. But a lot of us in undergrad, we didn't know we were going to be preachers and pastors and things like that. But I'm glad that for those of us who were. But at Morris Brown, a lot of preachers have come out of Morris Brown. And a lot of people are pastoring churches and leading ministries that came out of Morris Brown. It's a haven for all hungry souls.
Amen. So I do want to, because you said a lot of good things today, but I want to talk about influence.
Okay.
And in this season, we're still in the midst of COVID-19. There's uncertainty about when we'll be able to congregate with the numbers of people that we are used to congregating with, but that we still have the opportunity, especially now, to influence people for Christ. That people are hungry to find out what the Bible says. They want to understand what they're reading. And so let's talk a little bit about influence.
You know, I think influence, you have to have a certain character and a certain quality about yourself that people want to be like, people admire. You know, they had this whole thing now about social media influencers and stuff. And, you know, and I see that and how they get all these followers and everything. I said, can you imagine if Christians got followers like that based off their influence? You know, we were looking at a show and the girl, she was influenced and she had this whole look about herself. And she got more influence, and she became more of an influencer when she took her hair off, took her lashes off, and so, you know, I'm gonna be real. I'm tired of standing up in these high heel shoes and all. She kicked the shoes off, and she started, so she was doing a cooking show. And it was like they were showing her lights going up and her followers started going up. We have to be real. You know, as a gospel lover as I am, and one who likes to be an influencer of those who want to be a part of the Christian family, the best thing I can offer people is to try to be as real as possible and be more like Jesus. You know, I know we all sin and fall short of the glory of God, but people need to see some Jesus in us.
That's it.
And that's how we influence them, because Jesus influenced people.
And one of the main ways you said that we do that is just telling our story. And that is still something that I struggle with. I do a real good job of sharing other people's stories and sharing the stories of deliverance that we read in the Bible text. But because I had one of those stories like your classmate from college, I struggle with sharing that story with others. I mean, I have, but it's just not something I'm as comfortable with. And so help the people. You talked about the simple story is where you were before you met Jesus, what that encounter was like, and how you are now.
Yeah, and it's really simple. You know, all of us, we always like to blanket it and say we were sinners, and you know, I did a lot of bad things. You know, there's sometimes you need to know what was it though.
Yeah.
You know, I cheated on women. I stole from my job. I couldn't be trusted. You know, I was sneaky. You know, you have to kind of tell a story because people relate to it. You don't have to give them all the details, but at least give them enough so they can say, "Oh, I never thought you liked doing that."
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't. You look too pretty to have that done. You know, people will be surprised because we don't look like what we've gone through, and we don't look like what we do.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think we have to kind of tell our story. I used to like watching the Golden Girls growing up. That's where I put a little bit in my sermon. Estelle Getty, she's always started the story of Sicily, 1922. And, you know, whenever she said Sicily, 1922, you know a story was getting ready to come.
Yeah.
And, you know, you got some people who have not an introduce story, you know, they'll be talking about something, okay, but make a long story short.
Yeah.
You know that story's gonna be long. So
no, you already been talking for 15 minutes when they say make a long story.
So we have to have ways of producing our story. I remember growing up reading books and all of stuff, once upon a time. And you know, when you hear once upon a time, you knew something that happened back in the day. You know, so we have to know how to introduce our story to get people attention. You see something that's happening, oh man, it remind me of. And then once you start telling what they remind you of, that's your opportunity to tell a story. Because every time in life, there's a situation that comes up that, man, this reminds me of the old HIV days and stuff. You know, we're talking about the COVID-19 now. We saw this in the 80s. You know, it's nothing new to us. So, you know, man, this reminds me of old HIV pandemic era. Boy, I got straight with God then. I started using condoms all the time. I prayed for all the relationships that I had unprotected sex with, and God made sure my body, you know, it's a way to do that. And that's what this is all about. And we just missed great opportunity to tell stories.
So one of the last things you told us was how to be a better Christian. That we are to follow Jesus. We can't follow the trends. We can't worry about followers and likes. We have to be following Jesus. And that means that you have to know him for yourself. You have to study. Just like when you're chasing after a mate. You find out everything they like. You want to be where they are. You want to hear stories about them. You want to know all that you can. And that's the same way that we have to be as disciples of Christ. People want to see that in our lives. I mean, I can't bring anyone to Christ if the only thing I know about him is that he's good and all the time he's good. I got to know more.
And you know, and I think people, we need to know more, and people need to know more about us. The thing about Jesus was he was reachable. He was among the people. You know, I know some pastors who you don't see them unless it's Sunday or Wednesday. And you know, it's like, I know we don't want people to see us in our stuff because we want to stand before God and we want to represent God. But people need to see that you get tired standing in line at Kroger too. And you get pissed off when somebody cut you off in traffic and stuff. You know, people need to know that about us. Jesus got pissed off when they came and turned his father's house into a den of thieves. So, you know, people have to see us in our reality. And I think what's interesting, I was telling you the other day about this post I saw on Facebook. What happened when your pastor want to be a friend on Facebook and you have to block him because you might be saved, but your Facebook page ain't saved. So, you know, and I thought about it. I thought it was a funny joke. But I think if anybody follow me on social media, Instagram or Facebook, something like that, you're going to see a lot of things on my Facebook page or my Twitter page or whatever. But you could tell that I'm Christian. You can tell that I'm a person of faith, and you can tell I have a lot of stuff, but I'm rounded. You know, you can tell I like sports. You can tell there are certain movies I like. You can tell there are certain jokes I like to share that you might not get. But you know, you have to be that way. You didn't get all the Jesus jokes.
Well, you know that what bait got you.
Yeah. I think
So, as disciples and making disciples, you know where you were and what words, what action, what did it for you.
And and it's like that thing I was talking about, casting that net over people. I had the net of church through over me at an early age where I didn't have enough time to know what it was like to not be in church. Cause the net, you know how when you throw a net over fish gets stuck in between the holes. So I was stuck in between one of the holes. I couldn't get out. I just happened to be one that grew up in the church. But what was so interesting about that, even though I grew up in the church, I didn't become a disciple until somebody made me a disciple. I tell the story often. I grew up in the church. I was singing in the choir and everything. But I even joined the church and got baptized. But I think I became a disciple when my auntie Nisa made me a disciple. She discipled me by inviting me to her church. And I'm like, how you gonna get me to go from a church I'm already going to your church? But I got one over there, and she discipled me and said, you come over here and just see. She said, just come over here and see. And I went over there, and I ended up joining that church, and I started watching the pastor, and I started watching how people did ministry over there, and I started doing likewise. I would imitate my pastor. I would teach the way he teach. I studied like he said. He studied so many hours. I said, I'm gonna study so many hours. And that's how that comes. You start imitating people.
Really, and that means that we have to have those type of people in our life. There has to be someone that you are watching their walk, and that don't look too hard. I might be able to do that myself, and with the help of the Lord, we all can. We can all walk as close as we possibly can to what Jesus has called us to do. What's the song we used to sing in Rutledge? He's a mighty good leader.
Oh yeah.
And so all you have to do is follow the example. And see how he dealt with difficult situations, difficult people. I love, as I read through the Gospels, as we have both become accustomed to in the Lenten season, reading through the Gospels, solely reading through the Gospels. And you hear Jesus say that you who are without sin cast the first stone. And so, but he didn't just stand up and say it. He paused. He wrote down in the dirt. He took his time. And so those characteristics that we can learn from and emulate.
And if you think about it too, as a disciple, you start off influencing those who are close to you. And a lot of times people find that unfortunate because people who are close to you, they know you. But that's one of the biggest testimonies too. When Jesus called Andrew, he went and got Peter. And no, he called Peter. And
Andrew got Peter.
When he called Andrew, he went and got Peter, his brother. And when he called John, he went and got James. So in our families, I talk about my aunts and uncles a lot. But as much as I talk about them, I have a faith story for each and every one of them. My Aunt Vicky, she was a praiser and a holy roller. She would set a church on fire by herself. At her funeral, her pastor talked about how much he gonna miss her because he knew that he can count on her for how she praised and how she worshiped and everything. My uncle, my aunts and stuff like that. And even in your aunts, you talk about your Aunt Brenda and your Aunt Beverly and how they influence you. And so, we hear stories about your mom, talk about how she would catch the taxis going to church. We can influence our family. We just got to take advantage of it. They want us to do it, and they want to see more of that, but we think that that's not important. My aunts and uncle have no idea all the stories I have about them from us being in church. They think I just remember the stories about going to football games and them buying this stuff and stuff like that, them having fun. But I remember a whole lot of fake stories about my family members that they don't even know I remember. And I think we should tell each other. I remember when we was in church and you did this and you did that. You remember that? And they forgot and want to forget it. You remember how we had the ashtrays and the pastor would come to our house and, throw away the beer cans and stuff?
Be mad because he had a big piece of chicken.
So that's a part of our making disciples. When we get to that, I just thank God that he showed us what to do and how to do it. And he told us this is what we're supposed to do. He said, not that we should or we ought to.
We're compelled to. You can't have the Spirit of God in you and not want to share it as often as you can, everywhere you go, in every way that you know. Oh, I'm a rapper.
And we have to be sold out. I love letting people know what I like, being fans of it. A couple of years ago, when I decided to start getting out faith wear, So much so that we talked about it, and I ended up getting a heat press machine and
Yeah.
all the stuff so I can make my faith t-shirts. Because I feel like, not that I'm only a t-shirt wearer, but it's a attention getter and it's a conversation starter.
It is, and that's where discipleship begins. I'm going to close on one of the things you said, that there's no such thing as a shy Christian.
Amen. Yeah.
I mean, you can't be the life of the party and then come to church and not say nothing.
I agree.
Leave the church, have heard a word, and not say nothing. So I am just really grateful for this opportunity to be able to sit down and go back through your message, give you the opportunity to share those things that you meant to talk and we need to get caught.
Yeah.
And I hope that you are enjoying your time here with us at The Good News. We really enjoy your feedback and all the prayer requests we've received, the comments on the broadcast. So we hope that you will continue to join us, that you will like, subscribe, and share. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Tisa J is for Joy.
And you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook also at Dr. Darrell L. Jones, Be Better on Purpose.
And we hope that our time with you each week helps you be better on purpose. Thank you for sharing the good news with us.